Hello and welcome to the Comicspiracy, episode 338 for the week of December 26, 2017. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're legally allowed to say that again, so congratulations. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Lane.
No.
Whoa, what the?
I can't do that.
Llama, red pajama, this is Bryce!
Who is this really?
This is Scott.
Hello, Scott.
And Charlie.
Bryce, unfortunately, is out this is supposed to be our end-of-year movie, TV, random episode. That's not going to happen. We're doing it next week. Bryce mistook the days he was on his Christmas vacation, so Bryce has gone. Toby is in the hospital. Toby has, some eye infection, out of nowhere, and hopefully he's all right. We talked recently about Brian Michael Bendis going in for MRSA infection. As good Lord, Toby, I hope this is just some weird allergic thing and not something more serious. So hopefully Toby is okay, and we'll be back on next week. We do plan to do our end of year episode next week for the movie and TV stuff. So
if he does have to get an eye patch, I really think he should go black eye patch if they have to cut out his eye or something.
Well, just like the scar over the eye, right? The M scar over the eye or something,
Fury.
right? The actual biggest Cable fan on the podcast. Oh no, that's not Cable.
Bishop.
That's Bishop. Yeah, he could be the biggest Bishop fan
You
of the
just call him
podcast.
Toby Fury. Or Toby Fury Jr.
Well, we actually had a couple episodes planned. I thought we were going to end up having to skip our November sales charts, but a surprise, we could do it today. So hooray, we could do our November sales charts for the top comics.
You sound so enthused.
Oh, I got a lot to say.
Of course he's got a lot to say.
And Bryce isn't here.
Which makes it even sweeter. Who wants to guess the top 10 comics that DC published? I mean, that were published in the comic industry November 2017.
So we'll just start with Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock takes the number 1 and number 2 spot of the month because they still do this. Doomsday Clock
split the lenticular and the...
Yeah. Now we'll talk about these numbers in a second. Doomsday Clock number 1 at 119,412 copies. That's among 3 different covers. Doomsday Clock number 1 lenticular edition is the number 2 book at 119,231 copies. So
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
200 copies off from the head. All 3 of those combined. So it's how people love those lenticular covers when they're published by DC. Apparently,
Was the price difference too?
$1. Yeah, that's why they're separate in the chart. So to me, this puts Doomsday Clock roughly 250,000 copies. That is ridiculously low.
Yeah, I was expecting
low.
a lot higher.
Yeah. And it makes sense that they sold out immediately and went to second print, and it makes sense that in the retailer form, tons of people are looking for copies because how the fuck did people misorder this? I ordered the most we've ever ordered of a comic book by a not small margin. This isn't 2 extra copies. We're talking hundreds extra over the highest ordered book, which previously was Marvel Legacy, which we got for a ridiculous discount and are throwing a shitload literally in the trash for Free Comic Day. We will sell out a Doomsday Clock before issue 6 comes out at this rate. I thought maybe I'd have them the whole time. At the rate we're selling them, they may not even last till issue 3 or 4.
So those of you that are looking for Doomsday Clock, number 1, email,
we got them.
drive, walk, call.
Well, we've had people asking to get issues number 2, 3, and 4, just through a mail order subscription because they want to actually pick up the physical copies of this. So we could do that as well. We have a few people that called up today asking about that. So, yeah, it's crazy to me the stores ordered so few. What I believe is so few.
It is really crazy. Just based on the track record of what that book is, you would have thought more stores would have gone much higher.
So if every store ordered like I did, on average, it would have sold 2 million copies.
Jesus.
Give you an idea of how much I think stores underordered this book. They underordered it by 90%.
No.
That's 250,000 copies. I think they should have pushed closer to... I mean, clearly they're not going to push close to 2 million. But I think
it might be $500,000.
I think they are. I think people severely underordered this
They might
title,
have
which
been
is
able to
insane.
sell
How?
$500,000.
Right, it's crazy. It's crazy, Charlie. Me and Brock was here when we were doing FOC.
You and I were discussing back and forth how much to order, and we thought what we were ordering was high, and so we actually even trim back from what you initially wanted to order.
Well, and
no, I had a number, and we actually added to it because of the 4 covers.
Yeah.
I went higher than my initial number.
Yeah. And the way you were ordering it based on the fact that they announced it wouldn't be collected till it's done and all that was literally for you want to have it for the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is crazy for a comic book to order 4 shelf copies for a year.
Yeah. Even with metal, I ordered a lot of extra copies, but nothing like this. And so metal's amazing, but Doomsday Clock looks to just clean house all year long. So unless there's some just bizarre, just complete abandonment of this comic, it's Doomsday Clock's going to be the number 1 book of the year, all year long. I don't see anything taking over. So
we need 3 through 10.
We need 3 through 10.
Yep.
I got it.
Batman books on there.
Batman, I think he's got a few on here.
There was 3 metal titles?
The question is, what Batman books aren't on this list? Batman Who Laughs is the number 3 comic at 105,000 copies. That's a little under the main Batman title, but clearly the bigger of the group. Batman Lost, number 4 comic. That is the metal issue for this month. Batman Lost was sort of the replacement for the main metal series. So you could tell that people went way higher on The Man Who Laughs because it was even higher than that. That's 101,000. So 4 books in the top 10 that broke 100,000. That's good to see. Batman 35 and Batman 34 are the number 5 and 6 comics, respectively, at around 97,000 copies each. Batman Devastator, which is the last of the tie-ins, or the second to last, Batman Who Laughs is the last, was 94,000. So you got about 10,000 extra copies for Man Who Laughs, which, based on my numbers, that's. I mean, I ordered extra, but I knew that one was going to be huge.
I think there was a lot of people that were really interested in specifically that character.
Oh, yeah. And Batman Annual number 2, 75,000 copies. That's the number 9
that
book.
Could have easily sold a lot more.
And based on eBay prices and aftermarket and second print orders, even I did not order nearly enough of that. My rule for annuals is to basically do a little under the main. See, with the DC, because we get those variant covers, I match the main cover and don't order the extras like the variant. So on something like Batman, where I get 80 of the main and 20 of the variant, I get 80 of the annual, which to me I feel like some people don't pick up that annual.
You could have ordered 150.
I could have ordered 150 and sold out. I could have ordered 300 and sold out. There was no one could have guessed the annual. Doomsday Clock to me is a known quantity. It's crazy that people didn't order more of those. The annual was a bit
out of nowhere.
That was a bit surprising.
I wonder where the second printing is going to fall. I'm assuming the second printing's probably got a higher number than the first printing on this.
I don't think it'll be higher, but it'll break top 100. It'll do 25,000 copies or something like that easy. Yeah.
Well, how many did you order?
For 25.
Yep.
So that'll bring my orders over 100 copies for an annual, which doesn't happen often. So Marvel published some books here too.
Oh, no White Knight?
No, White Knight is number 13.
Oh.
That was number 1?
Number 2.
Number 2. Number 3
Number 3 should probably bump back into the top 10 because of that Harley variant cover. I guarantee you that number 3 will jump back up. But Marvel did have 2 books in the top 10. Anyone want to take a guess?
Star Wars,
number 38 at 73,000. And I gotta actually find out. I would be curious to see why, because that's a jump. I believe the last issue was
number 15 or 17?
It starts a new story arc.
That doesn't mean that much.
The only thing I would have thought would be because of the movie.
Yeah, 37. The previous issue was a good 10,000 copies less. So they must have just had a shitload of variants, or they did a loot crate or something dumb. That's all I could think of. There's one more. It's a Rebirth issue. It's popular character. Or Legacy issue, popular character. Character people were happy to see come back.
Captain America.
Captain America. Number 695 at 87,000 copies. 696 won't be that high. But, it's good to see. Good to see Cap up there. A lot of the Rebirth stuff coming in here,
Rebirth or Legacy?
Legacy, shut up. You know what I mean.
We have to be clear.
He's a hater.
No.
He would love it if they sold more, that's for sure.
I definitely would. I 100% would love them to sell more. So we'll like Punisher and Amazing Spider-Man and Daredevil and a few of those others coming in here as we go down the list. Nothing too crazy in the top 50, I think. It's kind of Mr. Miracle.
Marvel only had 6 of the top 20
I think that's what it was.
And 4 of them were, and only 2 of them were in the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it fills out significantly after that, but it's...
Mr. Miracle is number 43 spot at 39,000. Again,
People
I
are
believe
just
to be
missing out.
I believe to be a severely underordered book. I don't want to put my math in here, but I don't know what would that
What's
be.
your math? Every time they have a list, you should have your list side by side
Of what?
you sold.
Oh well, that's the thing, right? If stores ordered like me, Mr. Miracle would sell 270,000 copies, right, on average, right? Again, you take the average, but then let's take I don't know
Because
here,
there are stores out there. There are stores out there, and I've been traveling significantly, and you try to hop in.
Was Scarlet Spider 10? Was that their legacy issue?
Does anybody care?
Well, I wanted to use it as
Toby
an
would
example.
care.
I should.
No, you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
No. I wish I should. Fan.
That's a legacy. Yeah, that was a legacy issue. So I'm trying to look at a Marvel book here that is way the opposite, where we get one copy and it sells. Well, I don't know. Let's take a look here. Let's go.
All new Wolverine.
Gwenpool.
Mighty Thor 701.
Okay, so Gwenpool sells 15,000 copies. If he ordered it as I ordered it, it would sell 4,000. Right? I mean, there are definitely books that we're on the opposite side of, right? But again, okay, right above it is Doom Patrol, which we get 20 copies of, and it sells 16,000.
Hold on, Ryan.
I think it was Flintstones. Was it Flintstones where we ordered 1% of the print run?
That's impressive.
Something ridiculous.
I got a question for Charlie.
Yes.
Charlie, what was the number 100 comic this month?
Or November or December?
You're going to
Or
make me
November.
depressed because you're going to tell me it's Cable.
It is Cable.
It is Cable.
Number 151.
Yep.
Just have to twist that knife a little bit.
Well, no, on the list it's in bright yellow, so when you slide down it sticks out.
Either way, I like Cable. I'm excited to see where they go next.
Hope's back.
Yeah. Well, Hope's already in the Jean Grey book. See? Hope's around.
She's coming back.
Well,
In fact, I liked Hope in the last issue of the Jean Grey book.
the big news
Especially
for this
the
month,
line about, and that's what happens when you let Cable raise a child.
the big news for this month was, of course, the overall market share for the first time without any sort of major relaunch or any sort. I mean, Doomsday Clock and Metal are big events. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, big events happen all the time. Without any sort of major line-wide relaunch, DC beat Marvel 39.37% to 34.52% in the market share. That's
Oh,
5%.
Jesus.
5%
That's a
spread.
smackdown.
That's a bitch slap for Marvel.
No, that's
Considering Marvel
that's a FOC. Fuck ordering these. Fuck ordering
considering
these.
Marvel just normally dominates. I mean, there's just no question that DC with Metal and Doomsday Clock are just absolutely crushing it. With no special event, the number 11, 12 books of the month are Justice League. This isn't anything special. It just sells really well. And we were actually talking about it earlier that Christopher Priest took over Justice League, and that first issue was not good. And I know, Brock, you said the second issue was not good at all.
No.
So I'm like, oh, there goes that book probably. But still, hey, DC's just killing it. Marvel has trimmed their line dramatically, which is good. I mean, they're basically, Marvel and DC are basically putting about the same amount of titles now. And it's funny because we're going to talk about this in a second. They actually trimmed it even further. And I'm like, oh, you're starting to get actually a little low. DC had 92 books in the top 300. Marvel had 84. That's kind of crazy. And there's also books that didn't take the top 300 because Marvel published more than 84 comics that month. So there's some stuff going on there. In the top 300, DC had a 44.73% unit share. That means nearly 45% of the comics published were all DC comics. Marvel had 37.44%. That is a huge difference in the top 300.
Well, and we were talking about the dollar share, right, before 39 to 34.
Yeah.
It's also, most of I mean, all of Marvel's line is still the $3.99 price point, while
Right.
DC has the $2.99
Yeah.
spread on there. So they're even beating them with a lower price point.
Well,
and
share in the top 300 dollar-wise, DC was 44%, Marvel was 38%. So even with the lower price point, on average, DC is beating them out. So, yeah, it's again, because you have to look at these sales chart numbers. When they go with the overall numbers, that includes all reorders, specials, liquidations, reorders, like everything sent out by Diamond Comics within that month. So when you look at the nitty-gritty, when you look at actually the top 300, that's actually like the new comics performance. That's not reorders, that's not special orders, that's not weird stuff. DC had 95 new comics, Marvel had 85. And Marvel had 46 graphic novels, DC had 36. So, they released roughly the same amount of product, a couple fewer trades, a couple more singles. But, if you average them out, they released roughly the same amount. But we're finally seeing, Marvel just doesn't lose to DC even in their worst months. And it's gotten close, and now it's rough.
I'm curious, so typically, if you want to find the stuff that caught people off guard, that did much better, you look at sort of like second or third prints and that kind of stuff. And I know Marvel had a couple with Legacy.
Oh, they've reprinted every single thing. I can't believe a single one of them got on the sales chart. I don't know who would order any second prints, short of like variant cover. Some of the
So
ones
there
special
was
covers.
some demand still for second prints on.
No, Marvel just printed them anyway. I can't imagine any stores ordered them.
Did they print them just for, hey, we've got this variant artwork that we put out there already?
So the reprints on all the legacy issues were the non-lenticularized version of the homage covers. So if you have they would do like the back and forth cover, right, where one side would be this way and one side would be the other way. The old picture, new picture. It was a non-lenticularized version of that cover, and honestly, they should have said, fuck the lenticular covers. Those should have been the actual covers because they were way better. Yeah. I think it's actually in the inside, Scott. Like if you open up that one, does it have a regular cover inside?
Sure, yeah, it does.
Yeah. So it's basically that, just without the lenticular cover.
So they just ripped the lenticular off and printed it.
Threw a new cover on top of it.
It's even got the same add-on.
No,
it's got an add on the back, too.
They literally just ripped the lenticular cover off and reprinted those.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, Marvel, they're obviously having some trouble, and they're at least doing something to try to fix it, because when the new solicitations came out for what'll be March, there was a whole bunch of books that were not in that solicitation, and they've all been now confirmed as canceled, including Generation X, Gwenpool, Luke Cage, Iceman, Hawkeye, America, She-Hulk, and although not in it, apparently Captain Marvel, something is happening, we don't know. They claim it is still being worked on, but we'll see.
They're just going to cancel and come out with Miss Marvel.
Well, Miss Marvel's still going on. So
just bring out another Miss Marvel.
To me, I joke about Gwenpool on here a lot. It's kind of the whipping boy of this podcast. I don't hate any of these titles. I don't wish the creators ill will. I don't want to see them fail. I don't want to see them not have work. I want every comic to be the most successful it possibly can. Marvel has just put itself in such a position that these titles do not move. And there's still more that need to go. Oh, I think Champions might not be sticking around either. That was something I heard.
It was actually a better title for them as well.
Champions?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it sells better.
Well, as far as what to read, it's better than
most of those ones.
Right. I mean, Hawkeye at one point was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was because Jeff Lemire was writing it.
Oh, that's right. He can't write everything.
I believe Black Bolt and Falcon are not long for this world either. I think those will be the next two on the shopping block.
Oh, I thought they already said they were canceling them.
Not yet. Marvel just needs to completely course correct, get back on track, and then these books can come out and be successful, right?
So my feeling is, I mean, at this point, if Marvel's going to course correct, it's going to have to be one of those things where they course correct and then people notice, just because they've already screwed up with Generations and Legacy and that kind of stuff. Like, they need to just do it and not try and tie it to some big thing going on because nobody's going to order the books.
Well, they're going straight into this Infinity event, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But I mean, it's a smart thing to do. It's a popular series. You have the movie coming out, but you need some core. You need those core titles.
It would be awesome if the line was built around Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man and Uncanny X-Men, and
Avengers,
and Captain America, and
it would be.
Iron Man,
with all the regular
Thor
people in them.
Yeah,
that'd be really.
So
I feel like that's a tried and true.
Hell, you can even
solid.
You can even have a just Deadpool comic. No adjectives, just Deadpool.
And one.
Yeah,
one. So when I'm selling hundreds of copies of Batman a month and 100, 200, 150 copies of Justice League and Doomsday Clock's the best-selling comic ever, when DC comes out and says, we're going to put out Sideways and Snagglepuss, I'm like, sure, I'll give that a shot because there are eyes on the new release wall, there are eyes on the DC section, and some people are going to go and grab those titles just because it's in the same section as DC. Stores can push people to these books and say, hey, you might actually like this. You might want to check this out.
Don't they remember? I mean, doesn't anybody look in the past? So when Jean-Paul Valley was Batman, Batman didn't sell.
Well, it did. It did well.
Not as much as it was before that, and not as much as it did after that.
Well,
so I agree with you overall, but I would say that the sales of Batman after that were probably better than the sales of Batman before that.
During the event,
got a lot of attention on it.
It sold better during the event because there's a difference between Azrael becoming Batman for what we knew was a specific story arc. Superman dying was a specific story arc versus Hulk's just gone, and we're going to have two different series featuring Amadeus Cho, and it's not the Hulk. And the Hulk's, I mean, we don't know, right?
Well, and,
there is a difference.
I mean, leading into that, how much? I mean, Hercules was the Hulk for a while.
Yeah, and that didn't sell for shit either.
No,
well,
just the Hulk should be the Hulk.
Hercules replaced the Hulk title. He wasn't
right, but
he was the Incredible Hercules.
But that didn't sell either.
It was it was an Incredible Hulk for a little bit with Hercules in the book, and then they just said, "Oh, screw it," and made it the Incredible Hulk. But
that's because at the time they had written Hulk into a particular story that made sense for him to be missing from books for a short period of time.
Yeah,
correct.
It was literally we need to shelve this till this where we will bring him back. But it did not feel like it was we're fully replacing this title. It was we're doing something different for a little while.
But when Batman was gone, everything followed the storyline to what Batman was. He was never gone from thought.
Well, there was a plan.
There was a plan.
There is no way you could convince me for half a second that anyone at Marvel has any plan for any of these characters. There's no plan for Clint Barton long term. It's just, we got this book. Let's just put it out. All right?
Well, people don't get tired of the Hulk. They get tired of bad Hulk comic books.
Right.
It's not the character that anybody gets tired of. Because if you got tired of the Hulk, then that would have disappeared
years ago.
Decades ago.
Yep.
Amazing Spider-Man. I mean, why is Amazing Spider-Man not written better on a continuous basis? And it's had some good stuff. Slott had a nice run where you did some good things.
It's another story. We'll talk about it later today. But I think there's, a book. These books would have more of a successful chance if the rest of the line was on the same, caliber of what they were doing. If everything else was selling well, those mid-tier and low-tier books have a better chance. Charlie, I don't remember if I mentioned on this podcast. Maybe we did. I'm probably repeating myself. I always do. But you said it best a couple weeks ago. You looked at the new release wall on Tuesday night after we were putting out the new comics, and you said, this would be the amount of Marvel comics you take off the shelf Tuesday afternoon when we're getting ready to put out the new comics.
Yeah.
This is now what you're starting a Wednesday with. And it's not just us. I mean, again, there are predominant Marvel stores. Marvel has traditionally always outsold DC, no questions asked. So the fact that they have fallen this far below DC on just a regular month is crazy.
And the thing that I have no clue how you could check, but those predominantly Marvel stores, I have no clue how they're still in business right now.
I don't know either.
So if you look at what's driving the industry now, is your top characters written by your top writers.
Oh, what a shock.
Okay. So it's not your secondary characters written by, because look, Tom King can write Mr. Miracle and it's an amazing comic book.
Yeah, Mr. Miracle isn't selling 39,000 copies or whatever
Right.
by any other writer.
Because
right?
it's only selling 39,000 because it's Mr. Miracle with
Tom King.
Tom King, who's one of the top writers in the industry.
Oh, number
today.
one, no question.
Now, mind you, that being said, it's interesting just because the Vision book, the Mr. Miracle book, have a good amount of legs when it comes to like the trade sales and that kind of stuff, more than even them. Like, it's interesting to me just because Tom King on Batman will sell amazingly well in single issue form and will sell some trades, but Tom King on Mr. Miracle that trade's going to sell like bananas when it's all done. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and we see with Mr. Miracle something that happened today. Happens, I don't want to say every day, but very often. Guy walks in and goes, cool, you have Mr. Miracle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pick those up. One big problem the comic industry has is that doesn't happen enough anymore. And it's not because stores don't have stuff in stock. I've talked about this at length, especially on Twitter, that I've seen the near death of the independent single issue market here, where we sell so few single issue independent comics past the week of release, right? So books like Walking Dead, and there's obviously books like Saga and Walking Dead and Paper Girls and a few others that'll kind of buck that trend. But like Black Science, every copy I sell is either in a subscription box or that Wednesday, right?
Or a trade.
Right. So discount trades, right? That's what I mean. The single issues. So when I don't have people coming in and going, oh, cool, you have the last 6 issues of Deadpool on the rack. They may grab one, right? But this used to be a common occurrence where people will come in and go, got to catch up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool, I'll take them all. Or, well, more accurately, 604, 605, 606, 607.
So Ryan's pointing at me because honestly, that's what I do.
That's what you do.
I like the singles better than I like trades for some stuff.
Yep.
But as the writing, there's a different writing style that sometimes you get where it's like in TV or in like a movie. There's intros and outros where you have to catch an audience's attention at the beginning, tell your story, and then keep them hanging at the end of this. In every comic book, I feel like there's some stories, and a lot of them that are written today are better served to be in trade format.
And yeah, there's a lot of stuff where unless you go back and you reread the early issues, by the time you get to something that should be more meaningful, you have to sort of reread everything leading up to it. So yeah, I don't dispute that at all. There's a lot of titles, especially in the indie world, where I'm just like, I can't do single issues on this. I need to just sit down and wait for my hardcover to come out where I can just...
Well, we talked about this on the end of your episode, too, where I was like, cool, I've read independent stuff this year because I'm waiting for trades and everything, and I'm so far behind, so see ya. And, like, that's the end of my thought, right?
Well, back to Scott's thing about keeping you interested and keeping you engaged and making you want to get the next issue, the next single issue. A lot of independent stuff doesn't, like you said, doesn't really do that. But, like, Sacred Creatures did that for me this year, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll check out this title. I checked it out, and it was good. First issue caught me. Second issue caught me again, and it was written really well to keep me engaged in that, monthly format for it. But something like Poor to Earth, interesting concept. First issue was okay. Issue 2, okay. I'll just wait for the trade, maybe. Or
I think because Brock, because you are, legitimately one of the few customers in the store that on a consistent basis is picking up independent single issues on an ongoing basis. Yeah. We don't have that many people that do that anymore. Not like we used to. And I don't know if people are just waiting for the trade. I say this all the time. We sell a ton of number ones and no number twos, and it happens so regularly now that it's just like I don't even order some issue number twos, even if I think people would buy them, because I know on average they're not gonna. So there's no point for me even trying to stock this on the shelf. When we opened up in August, we had such a backlog of independent books that had stopped moving entirely, that I had stopped ordering, that were just sitting on the shelf because they were taking up space. And when we put the independent wall up, I was like, oh crap, I'm kind of like...
You were like, oh shit,
we don't have enough room.
We don't have enough room. And I'm like, yeah, we do. Pull this, pull this, pull this.
So we started pulling. And now I'm like, oh shit, I got to spread this out because I have too many open holes because none of this stuff is selling. But I then just put in a gigantic trade paperback reorder of stuff we sold over Christmas. And what was it? Like 90% of them were single volumes or volume 1 of a series. I'm not selling, and again, this is common knowledge. This isn't anything special. But I'm not selling 25 copies of Black Science volume 8, right? But I've sold that many of volume 1, definitely, right? So
because I'll pick up 1, and by the time 2 comes out, I've forgotten about number 1. Because in a lot of it, some of these creators, this is what they do, side job.
Yeah.
So it's not. So some of it's not consistent. Like Invincible, consistent.
Yeah, but that's Kirkman's side job at this point. That's why it's ending.
Yeah, but it was. It was consistent.
So perfect example is the workhorse writer over at Marvel, Jason Aaron, has not released a Southern Bastards comic on a regular basis.
No, there was one issue last year, 2 issues.
Yeah, one
or
issue,
something.
2 issues.
So it's
last year.
made for trade.
And the thing is like you're just sitting there going. I was like, I think you had ordered it and accidentally cut one because you were thinking, oh, okay, whatever, and cut mine.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize that I had subscriber plus Brock only. It was what I ordered on it, because I'm like, well, this book is 9 months late. I sold 2 copies off the shelf. I probably don't have those customers anymore last time this book came out, so whatever. And that's awful. But unless the shit's returnable or unless I'm guaranteed some sort of money back on this, why would I put my neck out for these titles?
Do you feel like the trade paperback industry has stifled the single copy back issue industry?
No, because back issues are a whole other thing because of how back issues have kind of killed themselves, because we're in such a market now where the only thing people care about is either the cover or the first appearance for back issues. So every other back issue is now completely worthless.
Yep.
High grade Silver Age, variant covers that are CGC'd, or first appearance of characters from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s is the only thing people buy.
Or any CGC
good
copy.
Variant covers that are CGC'd.
Sure.
Or any CGC copy that is 9.8.
But no. That was for a while. Not anymore.
It's still gross.
Oh, wait. You say Silver Age 9.8?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, of course.
Silver Age 9.8, 9.6 is just gross.
Of course. No, I thought you meant any 9.8s. I'm like, no, that's not the case anymore. But people
my
want
9.8 Harley Quinn #1 store cover.
People want those crazy high-end books, which has killed the completionist market, which has killed people catching, trying to do full runs of stuff.
There's no reason to do a full run because the full run's going to end at any moment.
Of new stuff, yeah.
Well, then so for me, me as a completionist, as a full run completionist, at a certain point, that's not me as a collector anymore.
The 10th volume of Spider-Man, you're like, I'm done.
I don't need to do it. You restarted it too many times. Yep. I'm done and I'm out. I don't need to collect. But because I don't need to collect that, I also don't need to collect. It's really killed what I feel like I want run-wise. I'll look for old stories that I have that I like, but most of those I have already. Yep. And then I'll look for what everybody else is looking for. Key issues.
Yep.
Stuff that sparks your interest.
Yep. That's all people want. So, and this isn't new. Again, key issues are always important, but you could sell just random runs of back issues. But because of trade paperbacks, again, I've said this all the time, you have just such a divergent group of comics now, where you have the single issues, the graphic novels, the back issues, digital. You have so many, and then within the collected format, you have 12 different versions of every book, right? So there's so many different ways. We're looking at about an 8 or 9% drop in the industry year to last year, but you have to remember so much of last year was buffed by overships and all the Loot Crate crap, and Marvel overshipping all those weird books, and Rebirth, which was huge and was all new, all different.
There was at least one.
Wasn't that September?
I think so.
Of last year? So you have a bunch of these big events that really bumped up 2016 over 2015. We've had 8 or 9 straight years of growth. No, 7 years? 11? No, 6 years. 6 years of straight growth. And we're going to have a bit of a dip. But again, the dip is, to me, it's not like we're losing. We've gone so high that we're now going a little bit lower to sort of a more, stocks or whatever, where they go up and they take a little bit of a dip, right? I mean, we're rebuilding. Imagine right now if Marvel was on fire as much as DC was.
Market would be amazing.
Imagine if there was 4 more books from Image like Walking Dead and Saga now.
But you would need, the problem is, it's because the comics that sell a lot are writer driven. Mm-hmm. And all the writers that are good are already publishing.
Yep.
You would need Brad Meltzer back.
Yep.
You would need
you need a good influx of young blood writers again. Because,
So
I mean, you can bring back somebody like Meltzer for one miniseries or something, but they're always going to get pulled back to the other stuff they're doing where they make more money. It's you kind of need that as people phase out. You need good people phasing in around the same time, or you end up with this sort of deficit. And
we have a couple, but I'm worried about Donny Cates over at Marvel. Marvel's all of a sudden giving the guy 12 books to write, and I'm like, you're just going to drive this guy into the ground. You're like, oh, cool, he's on. It's the most fucking Marvel thing of all. They put him on Doctor Strange. He's got a little heat. It's a good run. People are liking Doctor Strange. My numbers are up 5-6 copies, which for a Marvel book, 5 or 6 copies is huge for me, right? At this point, going up. And then what do they immediately do? Oh, we're going to launch a second Doctor Strange event miniseries to go aside Doctor Strange. And it's like you fuckers, just put it in the goddamn regular book.
Put him on. If you're going to put him on another book, put him on Captain America. Put him on The Avengers. Put him on The Uncanny X-Men.
He's a perfect writer for Doctor Strange, but they're gonna drive this guy into the ground. I know it.
Well, and again, it's the same thing. So it's interesting to see when Scott Snyder was on a couple weeks ago. He talked about his young creators,
the DC New Talent Showcase,
right? The New Talent Showcase,
which we're getting Duke's title. What is it?
Signal.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes, and hopefully he's onto it. Is Marvel doing something like that right now?
No.
Or are they just randomly reading comic manuscripts that are sent into them from people all over the United States going, well, maybe this is good? Do they have somebody that's a talent headhunter?
Well, they do, right? And so they've grabbed some new people. The problem is, and again, we've talked about this at length in the past, I am totally down with Marvel expanding their audience. They just also contracted their audience at the same time dramatically. So they what was the expression? You put the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
They did it the wrong way. They were not in a stable position with their base company. Maybe they thought Star Wars was going to maintain 200,000 copy sales forever. That's just not the case. So they didn't have eyes on their books. They had so many problems with putting their foot in their mouth and Secret Empire and
Secret Wars,
and they just lost readers.
Who was writing Star Wars when it came out?
It was Jason Aaron.
There you go.
Well, what's the concern of that is taking Jason Aaron off a mainstream Marvel comic, right? That's going to be your main sellers. This is the concern that some people have, including myself, with the DC New Age of Heroes stuff that DC's doing. I think the potential is there. 8 books is a bit much. You put a lot of new talent on some new or non-existent characters.
Yeah. While
I don't have a problem with that to a degree, I'd kind of rather have Jim Lee on a Batman book or a Justice League book than I would on Immortal Men. Like, you can kind of put anyone on that book, and as long as it's a good quality title, it'll find its audience to a degree. It'll sell more because it's Jim, but it's not going to sell anything near what it would if he was on a big title. So,
Yeah.
and if you put Jim Lee on this title and then you replace him after 6 issues,
You have to keep it as the style at least similar. You can't just. Well, I mean, they did it for Justice League. They had him switching off. They had him switch off with a artist that was similar.
yeah, it was Prado. No, who was the switch off in Justice League? No, Prado's his inker, right?
I thought
Prado's
Williams,
an inker.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
his
Williams
inker.
was his inker.
Yeah, Williams is his inker.
Oh, Joe Prado is not the guy. Oh no, am I thinking is that?
Prado does Ivan Reis.
Oh, Ivan Rice. That's who it is.
So
Sorry,
didn't
that's
they switch
who
with
I was thinking
Rice?
of. Huh?
It was Lee and Rice were switching back and forth.
Yeah.
So the thing is as long as you keep the style fine, it's okay. And I understand from they want to get
But
exposure.
that's Justice League.
I know, but the thing is they're wanting to get exposure to Immortal Men, which I understand putting Jim on.
You don't. The thing is, you don't need Jim Lee in that book necessarily, though, because it's going to launch out of metal. It's going to have fucking Men Who Laughs on the cover. Boom. That's what sells. It's nice that Jim Lee's on it, but I'd rather he was on something else, right?
I'm coming from a different perspective, though, because after listening to Snyder,
Yeah.
and from what I've read, most of the books coming out of Age of Heroes, whatever they're calling it, were created by the teams that are on the books.
Right.
Which means that the teams were put together, weren't just like DC editorial saying, you're doing this. It's Jim and Tiny and getting together.
Yep.
Let's have some fun and let's do something we both want to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, they both have more at stake here. They both wanted to do this book. So
Yeah,
I think the book will
that's
come
true.
out better because of that.
I hope so.
And I'd rather that be the truth than having to push them just for sales.
I hope so. But I think it's tough. If they said we're going to launch 4 books out of metal or 3 books out of metal, okay. 8?
Yeah, it's a little high.
It's a bit much.
Yeah.
Well, I know for like me, like Silencer is an interesting concept, but I don't want to read the book because it's John Romita Jr. You know, like I am super excited for the best troll book of 2018, which is the Terrifics.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like just Jeff Lemire just going.
But that seems to be the one that grabbed people outside. I mean, again, I've talked to people about this, and it's tough because as much as people love the DC stuff, when I've mentioned this to people, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have every issue of Metal in my hand. I have no idea what this is. That concerns me. And I'm trying to fix this, but I still don't feel like... Even like when Rebirth was coming out, there was still a little bit of like, what's this again? So I understand, but I hope these take off. And whatever Marvel's got planned, I mean, God, I hope they could figure something out because we need them.
Well, again, it for me, it's just goes back to the creators. You've got Lemire, you've got Aaron.
No, Lemire's not at Marvel.
Yeah, Lemire's
Lemire's
gone.
gone. That's
He's
right.
gone.
Yeah, he's
You've
at
got
DC.
Jason Aaron
Yeah.
Yep.
and
Mark Waid.
Mark Waid and a bunch of young guys
Yep.
that we don't know about because they haven't proven they can write anything. 12 issues, 8 issues,
Yeah.
6 issues. You know, a 3-issue story arc that you're like, wow, that was... Check that out. And that's how it's going to start for them. I mean, eventually it's going to happen. They'll get 2 or 3 guys if they throw enough creators at, you know, these random titles when the big ones roll out at some point, because they are going to roll out at some point. There's no way that you can continue to run a business
Yep.
and not run out the Uncanny X-Men.
Yep.
And then if that's they
Well,
could run out Excalibur again, and people would be like, "Sweet."
Here's the question. So unfortunately, there's only one way to do this. That's the big summer relaunch of rebooting the entire line again.
See,
And are they in a damned if they do, damned if they don't position at that point?
yeah, I think they can do it slow.
I think they would. I mean, honestly, I think if they avoid doing a full, like, we're tying this to an event and just kind of do. I mean, they kind of already have a little bit of that with like Captain America and Legacy. Like, there's certain classic characters they got right. If they have 1 month where they're launching a new Fantastic Four title and 1 month where they're like really focusing on these sort of core characters, as you said, and just not try and do it all at once, not try and make some outlandish claim in the media, just put a good team on each of these books, do it a little slowly, build up those audience, build up the people where they start looking forward to, well, they got it right on Captain America, I'll check this out. Well, they got it right on Iron Man, I'll check this out. They got it right. like.
I mean, the success of Rebirth comes along because of the Rebirth special and returnability. The Rebirth special could have sold the books, but stores wouldn't have stocked them if it wasn't for the returnability. So that would mean Marvel would have to you have to hit us twice with a reason to have people come back and a reason for stores to come back, because there is not a thing in God's green earth that would get me to support a Marvel relaunch, major event, big thing, unless there is quality, unprecedented quality.
Well, the last two relaunches were, the current one is kind of a jumbled mess. So I'm a long time Marvel guy. Long time. And I love Marvel Comics. I love the characters. I get Iron Fist.
Is that it?
Complete pause.
Moon Knight ish. I get some fringe Marvel comic books, and I don't get Blue and Gold. I don't get I just didn't. I wasn't. Jason Aaron's good, and yes, I have about sitting in my box ready to read 695 through 704 or so.
Yeah.
So the last bunch, but the frustration is it's constantly restarting, and the quality that they're restarting with is not there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we're going to restart it, and you're going to buy it because we're restarting it.
And look, again, me and Charlie, this affected us quite a bit in Rebirth. We're like, oh, God, they're sticking with some of the same people, and I can't believe Scott Lobdell is still doing this, and I can't believe Vendetti's still on this. And I'm like, oh, is Jeff Johns like ghostwriting these books for you? Like, what is going on? Suddenly Red Hood and Hal are like two of the best books on the market. Like, that's bananas. I don't understand it.
I think that goes into what DC's trying to do in-house with editing and along a creative scale, is they're trying to nurture their creative talent across the board. Like, everybody kind of talks to everybody, and Scott was saying, my friend Tom, and like, it feels more like an environment that is more nurturing to bouncing ideas off of and seeing where things are going, but also understanding that, you're working on this family of stuff, you're working on this family of stuff. There's no real need for you guys to talk about continuity stuff in such fine detail as creators. Now, the editors can deal with that fiasco stuff, but as a creator, you're allowed to just be free, instead of where at Marvel, it's like, I know we're doing Secret Empire, so you have to have issue this and this tie in somehow with it. And look, you put one panel in the book that ties into Secret Empire, and it's like there's this kind of assembly line at Marvel, where at DC it feels a little more.
If you look back, Ryan, and you look back at think back to younger days. Go to the Wayback Machine. Mr. Peabody's waiting for you.
Who?
Think 1997.
Oh, man. Morrison's Justice League?
That's what it was. Nobody was buying Justice League before that because it wasn't Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And then, boom, Justice League restarts, and there was no fanfare for it. It was just Justice League number 1.
Yep.
It starts out, and it's amazing, and you get,
I mean, they had like the lead-in book, but,
And there was a little...
There was hype for it, but it wasn't...
There was hype and fanfare that wasn't really about Morrison. It was about getting those characters back together in that book.
And it hasn't been... I feel like it hasn't been the same since. It's been really quality from 97 to now.
Yeah.
Justice League hasn't had a lot of really...
There's been some missteps, but...
There's been a couple missteps, but those missteps don't last years.
No, they don't. Yeah. They don't. They tend to go away pretty quick.
There is no real Mighty Avengers title. It's the Uncanny Avengers, which, honestly, Marvel just continually jams stuff down our throats that we don't want to eat.
When was the last time the Avengers were the Avengers? When Jeff Johns was on the book. Because after that, it was fucking... Chuck Austin, and then after that it was Bendis, and that's when they did Disassembled, right? And we really haven't had the Avengers since then, so that was a long time ago.
God,
they've had a few times where they've kind of brought the Avengers back together, but not
for
long
a minute.
term.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
before an event and break them up again.
Right, exactly. Well, there are a few things that maybe some changes are coming on the Marvel end. One thing that they said they would never, ever in a million years ever do is going to happen in June. And that very well could be the return of the marriage of Mary Jane and Peter Parker in Amazing Spider-Man 800. Now, this, of course, is all rumor, and this comes from various events of what they're doing now with
question.
the Red Goblin and Mephisto and blah, blah, blah.
So, is anybody excited?
I mean, it's one step back on the right path.
Yeah. I'll buy it.
There's this
For $1.
There's this.
I'll buy it for $4.99.
Try $5.99
or whatever.
Try $9.99.
You know I don't look at the price of my comics.
There's some weird people at Marvel and some fans that are like, the marriage of Peter and Mary Jane was the worst thing ever. And I'm like, are you smoking? Like, I don't get that mentality at all.
It's part of the development of a character.
Yeah.
Develop a character and stick with it. This is why I quit reading Spider-Man a long time
Superman
ago.
and Lois Lane, right? They had their will they, won't they for 60 years, and they finally did it. And it's like, this is the character. This is the correct move.
Write the character as it's done. Make it evolve and make it a good story.
Not to mention the way they undid the marriage, while I understood.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Even the worst.
It never felt like that should be the end of the story. It always felt like that should be the...
God,
one more
that
day,
should be
man. One more day.
The big question from there goes, how does he set it right? Like, you never really want
Just the worst.
bad guy to get the final say in something like that. You always want some sort of redemption of the story.
And you know, again, despite what Dan Slott said, I believe, even to myself when I interviewed him a few months back, I mean, all words is he's off the book. So,
which, based on what he said to you and in other interviews, I can't see it being his choice, which bothers me all the more in some ways.
Don't know, right? That's the question. Is it they will never take me off this book, I will write this forever, even though I know that I'm off in June? Or is it the shakeup has to happen, guys? We're taking everyone off everything and mixing stuff up because we have to. I don't know. I have no clue, right? And we'll probably never know.
Maybe Slott's going to be writing Fantastic Four.
He took like a month off Twitter, which I thought he died or something like that. I was like, "Are you okay?" But
I love how Ryan thinks death is 1 month off Twitter.
Well, yeah, well, for Dan Slott, it definitely is. 1 hour off Twitter is hard for that guy. So,
oh, good Lord.
We also have Jerry Dugan and Mike Deodato. Who I really like Mike Deodato. I give Jerry Dugan some crap, but actually, I think some of his books are okay. Infinity Countdown Prime, kill me with that name, but we're getting a new Infinity book. This is the replacement for Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is going to be tying in with the Thanos comic, and hopefully this is going to be Marvel's kind of big thing during the summer. You know, hashtag no event for 18 months, but what are you going to do? If it's good, it's good, right?
Well, don't forget the Wolverine backups.
Right, so this is all part of that, where we're going to have Wolverine.
With the podcast?
What is it? Wolverine has the Space Stone, eye roll. Star-Lord has the Power Stone,
Wait.
eye roll.
What is...
They're not gems anymore.
Yeah.
They're stones.
Infinity Gems.
There's no...
The alternate reality
You
Star-Lord
need to stop their gems.
has
Just go.
the reality
No, don't do it.
Stone.
Gem.
Wait, there's an alternative Star-Lord?
Captain Marvel has the Power Stone.
Gem.
Fucking God.
The Futuristic Ghost Rider and Thanos. Which, I mean, I'm a couple issues back with Thanos. I need to catch up on this. Has the time gem.
What numbers Thanos up to now?
14.
14?
It's 14, 15.
I'm at
something like that.
12.
Jeff Lemire.
Well, spoiler alert! In 13, the future Thanos gets the time stone, and gem, and then the soul gem is gone somewhere. Yeah, I hate the stone.
Gem.
The gems. They don't look like gems anymore. They look like other stuff. Apparently, maybe we'll find out why they changed. Hopefully, they just call them gems. I'm just gonna go through every book and scratch it out. Gem, whiteout gem. Whiteout gem.
You can buy the special Ryan edition of every book.
No, I'm just taking that Scarlet Witch thing with no more mutants and cutting out and saying no more gems.
So I expect Captain Marvel will end because she'll be tied in with this event and probably relaunch after the book is over. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. A couple things from Marvel. We'll see what they can pull out here. Hopefully they didn't cancel 8 books just to have like 8 bullshit miniseries tying into this. Well, that's very possible.
What's the probability of that?
Pretty good.
Okay.
One of our best, most look forward to books of 2017 was the absolute incredible Jack Kirby Fourth World Omnibus by DC Comics. 1,500 plus pages of gorgeousness.
1,500 pages of
and 1,500 pages of gorgeous and 2 pages of
1,499 pages.
98 pages of
98.
And 2
So
pages
if there's one thing,
Well, one of the pages is in the right place.
yeah.
this is not. It doesn't.
So it's
help.
only one page of really?
If there's one thing that's even more predictable than me retweeting anti-Trump stuff on Twitter, it is DC's collection department fucking something up majorly. DC, I'm sorry, you need to fire everyone in the collections department and collection department.
Hire Charlie.
And
That's an expensive mistake.
and hire someone else because this has happened too often. It never stops, and you guys
And
got to
it's
do
always
something
on
about this.
these. It's never on like a small $10 trade or anything. It's always on
Yeah.
$150 book.
One page of this gorgeous, absolute, beautiful tome was double printed, and a big splash page was left out of the book around like literally like 1,400 pages in. So, or no, there's like 900 pages in. So
Problem is, it gets so long, they get so tired reading it as they're proofing it. They're like, all right, that's probably good. We're good through 490.
So, Charlie,
pages.
the thing is, you need to go back and look at your. Oh wait, no, you have the black and white ones, or do you have the previous hardcovers?
I have the previous hardcovers.
See if you can find that page, because this should just be the same material. Yeah. It's just collapsed into one volume. So if it was like that in the original and no one ever caught it, I mean, I guess that's mistakes on them. But
no, they had to start with a new. I would assume it would be a new.
I don't think so.
I'll check.
I mean, it should be the same material in the same order, just expanded.
Well, yeah, and I don't understand how some of these mistakes just blow me away, because I know there was a mistake on the JLI one, with like one panel where the text was missing, and it's like, again, they're not going back to the same material because that stuff already existed in some like smaller hardcovers and trades without that issue. So they have to be starting with a new file on this stuff.
I don't know. But
yes, I have no clue how on earth you end up with these kind of issues.
Man, that's an expensive fuck up.
Very expensive.
Well, they could be flipping.
Well, I mean, it's all they really need to do.
No, it was like hundreds of pages later.
Yeah.
It was just
but I mean, like, say on the original publication, it was on the left page, but on the new publication, it's on the right page. So that's how a lot of screw ups probably happen.
Oh, yeah. No, but this was just like a totally random other page. Yeah, super weird.
I mean, it's basically they reprinted one page over a page that was supposed to be there. All they really need to do is send out that page, insert it into the book, and it won't affect your reading at all.
Yeah.
It's just, it's weird that this went to a full print run with this issue.
And DC really should send out like replacement like tip-in pages or something to do this. But there's like a little like, they have those little like sticky back, like the little like a kind of adhesive page or something. They should do something because this is really bad. One last thing before we go. Again, the only thing more likely than DC's collection department fucking something up is men in Hollywood being fucking scumbags. And so the most recent to get some flack over the weekend for apparently one of the worst kept secret in Hollywood is Max Landis, who should be familiar with some comic book writer. He has been accused by multiple women of being a sexual predator and sexually abusing women and blah 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 and all this crap. What's interesting is a few weeks ago, DC removed his story from the holiday special that it was coming out, and now they've removed it from the digital version as well, which I think was a mistake. I think it was always supposed to be out of the digital version. So the question here is, Warner Brothers knew this was coming, and they're like, let's just pull his stuff because this is weird timing. Why would you pull that story for no reason? And then all of a sudden, all the stuff starts coming out. So, I don't think Max Landis is going to be doing any more work for DC, at least no time soon. So if you were sorry that you didn't get a chance to read that story, maybe you're not sorry anymore. Sorry, Max Landis. I don't like that guy at all, by the way.
You know who else you don't like?
It doesn't matter. Like,
you know who else you don't like? We were talking.
The internet knows all about my weird dislikes of zealous celebrities.
So Ryan is not a fan of Will Wheaton.
That's correct.
Well, the way he put it specifically, he's not a fan of Will Wheaton fans.
I'm not a fan of... yes.
Of Felicia Day.
Yes.
Or not specifically Felicia Day, but Felicia Day's fans.
Yes.
Now, this is news to me.
Yeah.
I know you are not a fan of The Big Bang Theory.
That's correct.
And
correct.
Potentially they're fans as well.
And everyone related to The Big Bang Theory. And so, me and Leanne were watching Big Bang. Let me rephrase it. Me and Leanne had turned the TV on and Big Bang Theory was on. We were not watching Big Bang Theory because I would never do that.
That's doubtful.
While it was on, I said, you know what? This really is the worst comic book store I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it's a really shit comic book store that they hang out at. I watched like a 5-minute sequence while they're in the comic book store. It's a really bad, like, it's a legitimately awful comic book store.
I love how you're, you're going to the comic book store and you're just.
So I'm watching them, right? The back issues are in no order, right?
No, it's just a prop. Like, I watch Big Bang Theory. I enjoy the show. I hate the comic book store.
Oh, it
fucking drives me nuts.
The back issues are completely out of order. They're in no order, right? Okay, just get that off the.
They're cherry picking dollar issues at that point.
So this was like a thing from like 2010. Okay, so the episode was from 2010. I looked at. So they had like this gigantic City of Heroes like standee. I'm like, look, even in 2010, I played City Heroes. I bought the City Heroes comic. I'm not putting a fucking City Heroes standee in my comic store to promote that book. Like, nobody cared. Right?
No, you want a Batman one.
Or a Spider-Man else, one. Yeah. Now, of course, I do like that they're all DC comics in the store. That's a plus, right? I mean, but if you look on their new release wall, it's like one comic, one comic, one comic. There's no stacks. And they're also in no order. It's just like, fuck's sake, people. Like, you have like Batman, and then you have like...
So you're telling us your personal hell is to be stuck in the Big Bang Theory comic book store forever?
Oh, I'd fix that store in like a heartbeat. Like, I'd be like, get the hell out of here, you nerds. I can fix this goddamn store. Your store is a piece of shit.
The merchandise they have in there is nice, though.
Did it change? I don't know.
So
like,
Ryan's
I haven't seen enough to...
Ryan's vitriol struck me very, very hard in this Christmas season. With the Will Wheaton and Felicia Day hate.
Oh, I just take my Festivus. I celebrate Festivus for like 2 weeks. So
you celebrate it all fucking year.
I do.
That's okay. For the record, I like Felicia Day.
Yeah.
So I'm one of her fans. So Ryan hates me here.
Yeah, but Charlie's too nice for anybody to hate.
No, I like
so
that's okay.
There you go.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
There's exceptions to all the rules.
I just felt like I needed to bring that up because... all of you need to know.
Max Landis is also terrible. Put him on the list too. But now he's even more terrible.
Just him.
Yeah, Max Landis.
Not his fans.
It's just what happens with that guy.
I don't think anyone is a fan of Max Landis. Not anymore.
Well, what happens with that guy, you just wish things in other aspects would happen a lot faster.
Yeah. So, that's
speaking of fans, hi, Sam. It's good to see you today.
Oh, yeah. It's a podcast listener swing by. That's always good. We have a couple questions we'll hit up on Twitter. I got one here. Oh, this is a nerdy question. We should answer this one. It's from Norman. Aren't they all nerdy? He says, is there more than one cosmic treadmill? Superman recently used one that looked like a giant roller. No, that's the cosmic treadmill, yeah. The Flash used one to fight Professor Zoom that looked like a Proform. I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's a workout thing. Has there ever been a story where they used a knockoff treadmill that screwed up the hero somehow? No, I feel like there's just the one treadmill. Maybe they've had a second one like bounce around.
There could be multiple because it's multiple universes.
Yeah,
we always see those caves or those big huge warehouse looking places that have all these little knick-knack goodies in it, and there's always a goddamn treadmill in the back.
That's okay.
Maybe they're just selling them at the Costco in the DC universe. I don't know.
Maybe Flash just rebuilds it whenever he needs it, considering that's probably not a good thing to keep around otherwise.
This is true.
Right. Yeah, I mean that like big rolling conveyor belt, that is like OG cosmic treadmill. OG. So
there's a hero click of that one too. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Ryan, I got a question on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
How many?
Well, who's it from?
It's from Bob Simmons.
Okay.
How many Joy Division or Joy Division knockoff
You did not
t-shirts
get this question on Twitter.
do you own?
Many.
He
Many.
owns a lot. They're given
I'm
to him
wearing one right now.
They're given to him as presents.
I have my Batman Ian Curtis mashup for Batman Smoking, which I'm wearing right now.
He's smoking a joint, not a cigarette.
No, it's a cigarette, but the guy at
like a joint.
No, it's supposed to be. I mean, in the original picture, it's a cigarette, but the guy at Trader Joe's was like, "Yeah, man, is that Batman smoking a joint? Yeah, I like that. January 1st, legal." And I'm like, "Fucking kill yourself." That's another thing I hate too is potheads. Get that out of the way.
How about the people that work at Trader Joe's?
They're all potheads.
The smugness. The smugness.
So there is a dude that works at this Trader Joe's that looks like what's his face from Breaking Bad?
Heisenberg?
No,
Jesse.
No. And he's on Better Call Saul too.
Bob Odenkirk?
No, the other guy. I'm blanking on his name. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
The son?
The older guy.
No,
why am I blanking on the character's
Mike.
name? Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you. He looks like Mike. I legitimately think this dude hates me. Like I will only go in his line when I absolutely am forced to. I will go in other people's lines.
You'll wait in longer lines?
Well, I'll wait in longer lines just not to be in that guy's line. The dude will not say a word to me. He'll talk to everyone in front of me, everyone behind me. He will not say a word to me. And I'll be like, "How's it going?" He's like, "Just bags of stuff," and gives it like he won't look at me.
You know why?
Why?
It's because you don't bring your own bags.
I bring my own bags most of the time. This dude hates me.
Well, maybe he knows who you are.
Maybe he follows me on Twitter. That's why he hates me so much.
Or he listens to the podcast and he's
like that guy.
Fanboys
that
out.
guy's always hate my Marvel comic books.
Yeah.
I have a Joy Division shirt. I have of course, you're talking about the classic Unknown Pleasures cover.
The Unknown Pleasures cover
the
art.
Signal. I have that. I have a Japanese version of that.
have
I have a Pokemon version.
Mickey Mouse one.
I have a
right?
Mickey Mouse version. I need to buy the one that says, "What is this?" I saw it on Reddit. I need to buy that. I need to buy that one.
So if you're out there,
pretty good.
you're out there, post-holiday gift or holiday gift for Ryan in the future, if you find a random Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division, knockoff / mashup.
Well, this all started because we were talking about how we need Morrissey and Robert Smith pop figures and Suzy Q pop figures.
Before the podcast?
Yeah. So, Lane, when these happen, hook me up, man.
I'm in. I say I'm not in on pop, but I would be in on the 80s alternative rock icons pop figures.
Are they doing Revenge of the Nerds ones?
Supposedly, but I don't know. That's just a rumor.
It's close. Getting
Lane.
closer.
They're doing more rock icons, though.
Lane, what's your how much clout do you have in pop?
If you want to sell 2 pops, let me know, okay?
We could get at least 7 people to buy these things. I'm sure.
Oh, I could get Kevin to buy a Morrissey pop.
there you go. Yeah.
I could sell a few Morrissey
He would
pops.
actually stock them in the
Morrissey's
store.
been asked for.
Take it to the club.
Dave Gahan.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Andrew Eldrick pop, so.
Robert Smith.
This is from Keith. Bryce isn't here, but I can do my best Bryce impersonation here.
Oh, God, shoot me now.
No, I'll tell you what I legitimately think his answer
Do your
is.
Wolverine impression.
Keith, fucking Toby. Keith says,
I just popped.
has Bryce read X-Men Grand Design? It's pretty amazing. Now, he has other questions. Let me answer that first. I think Bryce loves the idea of X-Men Grand Design. I think he will not like the comic, though. I think he won't be able to deal with the art style. I think that's going to be his turnoff. He'll be like, "This is super cool. I love the idea behind this." But I don't think he's going to like it. Yeah, I didn't get too many copies. We had no requests for it. I think I had like 2 people at it.
I will tell you, he will never admit to not liking it.
Oh, sure.
In
but
any way.
It's not his thing.
In any way.
It's not his thing at all.
No, he'll love it. It'll be the greatest thing ever.
Greatest thing. Top 10 list.
What? This
He's
is
never
the
read.
best.
No, I legitimately. I mean, Ed Pinter, he does like
little more higher
hip-hop
pitch with the what.
family tree, and I mean, again, I think it's something that he likes in theory, but I don't think he would actually like the product. I don't think this. I'm really curious about Grand Design long term. I think it's an interesting title. I think they should have done a graphic novel. I think it's going to have its fans. But I don't think it's going to chart well. I don't think there's going to be a long-term interest in this title.
Ongoing?
It's like 3 2-issue miniseries that are coming out it's like whenever. So, I don't think this is a book that X-Men fans are going to be into. I mean, it could sell to non-X-Men people in the indie crowd, absolutely. And if you're someone that drifted away from superhero comics, but you still maybe want to check it out, I mean, I think Grand Design is probably a cool book for you. But if you're like, I'm an X-Men fan, I don't see you liking this book. It just
break it down. So I have not heard of it. I'm flipping through, and I understand that it is Ed Piskor.
Yeah, it's an independent book. Well, he's an independent guy. He did Hip Hop Family Tree, which is a pretty popular independent comic, but it's very non-traditional. Tiny panels, not superheroic art at all. And the pitch for this book is that it's going to be look interior. Is that it's taking the entire first 280 some odd issues of X-Men, 200 something, and kind of putting it in one narrative story, one kind of chronological story, which good luck. That seems like a bit much. It's definitely a book for not Wednesday people, which is cool, right? Scott, I think you would love the idea of Hip Hop Family Tree. I don't think you would like the comic, though. I don't think it's your style. I tried it. I had a real hard time with the art. It's just not the style of book I like. So.
It's a little old timey
on purpose. I mean, yeah.
It's not.
It kind of looks like an old. It looks like an old DC comic.
It looks like it's old timey.
Yeah.
Crossed with Allred.
It's super
crossed with tiny panels.
Yeah. It's a tough read for. Right? It's a tough read for the Wednesday Warriors. It's a book that doesn't have a lot of crossover appeal, and I'll be really curious about Grand Design. I think it'll win an Eisner, but that's probably it.
So you're saying if you love your Jeff Johns Green Lantern,
not your book. It's probably not your book. 4
panels per page, big splash pages.
Probably not your book.
Couple words.
Keith also asks, in an effort to avoid a completely, oh my God, Marvel is burning and it's all ending podcast, and go, oh well. Talk about how great Marvel 2-in-1 was last week. I was gone. I was on vacation. Do you guys like Marvel 2-in-1?
I didn't get a chance to read it
yet. It was a book on the shelf. I put it there.
No. It was really good. Yep. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody because you need to go see it.
I heard.
It's the thing in it's Thing in Human Torch.
Yep.
Teaming up to go find their
remembering the FF.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I do a lot of my reading on Sundays, and my Sunday was cut a little short this week.
Yeah.
And you don't have Sunday this week.
Nope.
As he's furiously rapping.
So it's
So you need to go read it if you haven't read it yet, guys.
On my pull list. Yep.
Awesome.
Or on my read list. I mean.
So that Silver Surfer last issue, 2 issues.
Yeah, great.
They've done well with some single things, but just come on, guys, let's string them together.
I mean, I would love for 2-in-1 to be like the actual return of the FF, and again bringing some of these characters back to a form we recognize. So I hope it happens.
So good.
Let's see. Tom asks.
4 and 2.
Tom asks, "What books do I need to pick up for the Return to Phoenix?"
Is that Tom King?
Is it a crossover? No.
Damn it.
I mean, honestly, I think you could pick up the last few issues of Jean Grey. They've been tying into it, but that's it. I mean, there has not really been anything else
you can just
that
pick
we
it
know. I mean, the Phoenix has been around. It appeared briefly in Thanos.
And wasn't it AVX too?
But that was a long time ago. Of real recent issues.
How much did you love the Thanos part where the witches are there in the black hole and they're like, "Oh, get out of here, old bird!"
Oh,
and they just shoo the Phoenix away like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Just
Thanos has been a really good book, and I feel like it's way underperforming.
The way they've handled
more people aren't reading
Phoenix for a while has been a little weird because they have parts of the Phoenix spread out, which is part of what's going on in the Jean Grey book right now. It seems is reclaiming some of those sparks and pieces.
Yep.
Old bird.
It's we're assembling our Phoenix.
I hope. I mean, again, I like Phoenix, especially. No spoilers, but I'm going to assume the kids won't be around much longer because we're definitely getting. This seems to be like the full return of Jean Grey. So, costume. Too bad about her costume, but we'll see when Red actually comes out. I hope it's a good book. Although, oh my god,
let it flow. Let the Marvel ages flow.
Honey Badger. Honey Badger. Really? Do we have to do this?
It's a very violent creature.
Do we have to do this?
It's a mean creature.
I feel like
so we have X-23. I mean, all new Wolverine, and now we're getting your clone, Honey Badger.
Wait a second. I didn't read this.
Honey
Her clone
Badger
is going to be the Honey Badger.
Yeah, the clone that she's been toting around is her psychic.
Oh, that's awful. So I
see. Wolverine is kind of a dumb name, but it's an animal. It's a specific thing. That's fine. Yes, Honey Badger's a real thing. I understand this. However,
but it was kind of a thing like 7 years ago.
Honey Badger is now an old internet meme, and it is forever ruined. So you cannot call something a Honey Badger because, one, it's kind of a stupid name. That's why the meme exists. But two, it's like that you are nailing yourself to this terrible old joke that is going to be lost.
Honey Badger don't care.
Yeah, Honey Badger don't give a shit. Like, and it's going to be so annoying.
I still don't even know the.
It's like literally like 1,000-year-old internet meme.
And in the moment, it was funny.
Oh, sure. Like literally 8 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever.
But now,
yeah, it's not.
No,
it's eye-rolling embarrassing.
I feel like it should have been a character
in Deadpool.
Like growing up.
Oh, God.
Growing up, when Ninja Turtles came out.
Yeah.
Okay. But it wouldn't have been in the Ninja Turtles because Eastman would have said, no, that's just too stupid.
Yeah.
It would have been in the radioactive black belt hamsters.
There you go. Yeah, that would have been Honey Badger would have been their villain.
It would have been their villain.
Yeah, watch the video, Brock, if you can.
Because I've done this the last 2 times, I do have a YouTube clip
of the Honey Badger.
That you need to go look at.
Oh Jesus!
2 weeks ago was the red pajamas
segment.
No, it's just
Scott's
real quick.
YouTube click. Okay. YouTube pick of the week.
This is the holiday. This is my favorite one that was brought to my family in the holidays. It's called Denver the Guilty Dog, and that's it. Just go Google that on YouTube.
Poop?
No, there's no poop.
Is there pee?
Nope.
Is there a lot of chewing up of stuff?
There's just chewing up of stuff and a guilty dog.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Go watch that. Entertain yourselves.
I'm just wondering if people actually watched Charlie.
That was fantastic.
So Ray,
my finger.
Ray asks,
"Is this Ray from Star Wars?"
No. What do you guys think about the Bleeding Cool rumor that Bendis is going to write Superman? I know it's only a rumor, but want to know your thoughts. So when I saw this, again, no reason to believe this is truer than anything on Bleeding Cool. I would be very disappointed for multiple reasons. One,
Tomasi's been doing
just
fantastic job with that
just
book.
Such a good job.
Like, if he's writing Superman in action, I'm fine.
No, I don't want that either. Both Action and Superman have been so good.
I mean, they've been good, but of the two, if he's going to be writing one, put him on Action.
Here's the thing. I don't want Bendis on there on that book like minute one.
This is true.
If you want to give him Adventure Comics, if you want to give him Superman Man of Steel, awesome. Yeah. Totally. Let him do his own thing.
You know what I would love for him to write?
What's that?
New Mystery in Space. Adam Strange.
I'm down with like anything Bendis wants to do with DC, but I don't want to see him take over something that's already been so strong in Rebirth. Yeah. I mean, unless Tomasi's like, yeah, I've done my 50 issues, I want to move on to Justice League or something like that. Okay, that's fine, right? I mean, if that's the case, where Tomasi legitimately is like, yeah, I've said my piece, I want to move on to another character. I don't want Bendis to just come in and take over a book like that, though. I don't like that.
I mean, I'm assuming most of the rumors of this kind of came out because there was that like Superman museum thing that they talked about was part of the reason why he was moving over to DC.
Yeah. Let's see. Got a bunch of questions here. Let's hit through some of these real quick. I did. Let's see. Jeremy asks, and I know I was talking with him earlier about independent comics. He says, do you guys follow any smaller graphic novels like Lucy Kinsley, who does Relish, Chris Ware, for New Yorker work, or Acme Novelty Library? Do you guys go into for any comic art beyond the traditional floppies? I mean, I definitely have at points. I go back and forth. There are times where I've read a ton of indie books and small press stuff. I mean, I used to go to APE, the Alternative Press Expo here, all the time. And recently, no, I really haven't. I've been pretty DC specifically, but Marvel and DC focused for the last couple of years, and a lot of it is just there's just like this dramatic change to the independent comic scene in the last, I'd say, decade maybe, where it is a very different beast than when I started reading comics in the 90s. So a lot of that like late 80s, early 90s indie stuff, I was really into. I'm not big on slice of life. I'm not big on used to kind of like travelogues. I tried Chris Ware. I could not get into him. Basically,
who's that guy that you stalked the graphic novel of his? He's the internet guy.
I'm not into Jason. I'm not into a lot of fanographic stuff. I've tried. It's just never worked for me. Just never been my style. But that doesn't mean I don't like independent stuff. I like all sorts of independent
You're
stuff.
You're a fanboy at heart.
Of some stuff, sure.
Long time ago, I used to read a lot of internet comics, like Sluggy Freelance and that stuff. And at some point, I just fell off on all that.
Yeah. Lane, you guess? Brock, no. Well, Brock, you read a decent amount of independent stuff.
Yeah, but it's more mainstream.
You don't go too far out of Image.
I don't. No, I mean, I don't really.
Image and Valiant are about all you're reading.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
all I really. I mean, occasionally I'll touch on an IDW or a Dark Horse book, but I mean, it really just depends on what the concept is or what the story is about.
Yeah.
Jeff Lemire's Essex County and stuff like that. I've started to dive into, so I've been enjoying that stuff. But for the most part, I mean, unless somebody really recommends it and kind of puts it in my hand and I have time to read it, I don't really go out of my way.
Yeah. For me, I mean, on average, I've never been a graphic novel reader. I've been a single issue reader. So something like Chris Ware is definitely not something that's going to be on the top of my list. That's a tough read. That's a long read. Most of the big independent stuff is not being done in single issues now. I mean, obviously, Image stuff, right? But a lot of these kind of newer format graphic novels are coming out in a format that I'm just not reading. And that's why I've fallen so far back on my indie reading, is because I can burn through a single issue comic, but when I pick up a graphic novel, I know I'm in for like an hour or two of commitment there, and I find I don't have the time as much as I would like. So that's preventing me. Again, doesn't mean I won't, but it's prevented me from reading a lot of stuff the last couple of years. So I hope to catch up.
Oh, do you count the Avatar books?
Like the company Avatar?
No, the Dark Horse, the Airbender. Because they're the small graphic novels.
Yeah, those are small. Those are small. Yeah. I'm just not an Avatar fan.
They're not
so.
slices of life though.
Yeah. Let's see. A couple others. Fortress of Comictude asks, Mr. Miracle's Comic of the Year. Thank you. We agree. He says, why do you think it's not being talked about as much as other books?
I don't think we can shut up about it.
I think it is. If you listen to the Comic Spirits podcast. It's gonna be in all the Eisner talks. I mean, it's not a big event comic, so it doesn't have like that kind of comic Wednesday talk, but that's all I see. When it's out, it's like the book I see people talking about.
I think it's kind of we're doubling down on Vision, right? Like Vision was selling 20,000 copies.
Oh yeah,
right. It was selling barely anything, but people were talking about Vision. Mr. Miracle is now selling a little bit more than double that,
and people are onto him
because people are starting to get onto it more. Like you said, the guy came in and we actually had 1 through 5, so he bought it. But stuff like Division didn't have issue 1 when people started, so they kind of just were like, I'll wait.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where somebody can come in and I can recommend Vision to them and hand them the trade, and they enjoy it and they pick it up, they read it, and they go and read other stuff because of it.
Yeah.
Same thing's going to go for Mr. Miracle. It's just going to be one of those. It's one of a great gateway, like just book to get people interested in something.
In Tom King or the New Gods.
Yes.
I think it's just character popularity.
Yeah.
Like, standard audience has no idea about the New Gods.
No.
Vision's easier because Vision's been in the movies. They can go, look, this is what he was.
Marvel,
to me, I mean, both of those are just easy, constant sellers in trades. Like, it doesn't surprise me that the single issues and that kind of stuff aren't necessarily, but they will always be on sort of that typical, like, these are your must-read books, and it will be on the list.
Your Tradar.
I think if you gave the Vision comic someone who's only watched the movie, they may be like, "What the hell? Like,
who's this guy?"
It may be a bit much for him.
At least ease him in with John's Red Zone, right?
Yeah. All right, generic bro tagging us on Twitter asks favorite Christmas comics. I've really enjoyed the Klaus minis; those are the ones by Morrison, and one shots, and the one shots Morrison have done over the past few years. Yeah, I haven't read Klaus. I guess it's like Santa Claus. Klaus. Klaus. Yeah, I don't.
Are we talking like specials?
Oh, whatever.
Because that Green Lantern Laura Fleece special.
Yeah, the Laura Fleece was
probably one of the funnest ones I've ever read.
That was a couple years back.
That was a while back.
I've actually been wanting to read those Morrison ones.
The DC usually does a winter special the last few years.
Their last one
right.
without Landis's.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It was fine. Yeah, I mean, none of them blow me away, but I pick them up every year. They're fun.
I noticed I really enjoyed. I think it was before the New 52. They had the 80-page like winter Batman giant. That was a good one. Like occasionally they have just these random winter ones that are pretty.
So
good.
What's the Die Hard of comic book movies? The movie that has nothing to do with Christmas, but people are like, that's a Christmas comic.
I was going to say, I like one that goes really, really far back for me.
Yeah.
I still love, was it Trencher versus Santa Claus, I think?
Oh, jeez. God.
No, it's early. It's Batman Returns, isn't it?
Really old.
Oh, Batman
That's
Returns.
the answer, right?
Yeah. Kid, the hell kind of nerd are you saying that Die Hard's the best Christmas movie? Dude, it's Batman Returns is the best Christmas movie.
Yeah, no, it's Die Hard and Die Hard 2.
No. Die Hard's fine. Batman Returns is amazing. Batman Returns easily the best Christmas movie.
It's not
It's as much of a Christmas movie as Die Hard is.
Nah.
I hate that. I put it on the list. I hate people that are like, "Oh, it's a Christmas movie." Shut up. So annoying.
Hey, Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Shut up. Last question from Stefano. He says, any Rebirth in review, thoughts, reflections now that Rebirth is more or less concluded and everything is simply the DC universe again? How should DC move forward? So this is sort of a problem that I think I've had in general. Rebirth was always the DC universe. The DC universe was always Rebirth. It's never not been the same thing. And I feel like people... I'm not saying Stefano is doing this, because I know he knows. But there isn't a difference. It's still the same thing. And there is some concern from retailers that are like, well, with the Rebirth tag off, are people going to follow the books? I'm like, God, I would hope so. Like, it's the same thing.
It's
like,
Batman. It's Superman.
Yeah.
It's the Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just happy they put the title headers back on top of like the ones for the Super Sons.
You can thank me.
What?
You can thank me.
Oh, bullshit.
Me and a bunch of the retailers in the DC forum were like,
oh, you
yes,
and people. Yeah.
You have to put. Oh, I every thread. I was either part of the first person or started it.
I hate people that take internet credit when it's not due to them.
Terrible. Me too. They're assholes. But that was totally me, by the way. Thank you.
All caps, exclamation points.
Yeah.
You were yelling at them with your words.
It's me.
At DC Comics.
No, but I think Rebirth was a success above and beyond anything we ever could have imagined. You know, I think when New 52 started, it was huge, and that was right when this podcast started, so that was good timing. But even that, as it went on, I mean, it was successful, but you know, it had its problems. They didn't let Rebirth get too long in the teeth. So it's now just DC.
Rebirth was kind of a course correction from what they were attempting to do, and they had their failures, and they it was a dramatic change. But I think that what sustained Rebirth for so long was, again, these stories were allowed to come out. These stories were allowed to happen. Like Cyborg's finally getting canceled at what issue? Like 18?
Yeah.
Like, they're letting these stories, these creators tell these stories out. Blue Beetle's done at 16, done at 18, whatever. Like, they let it go for that long.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't necessarily selling very well, but...
Well, Marvel's definitely let their books also go and complete their story arcs, but...
But the thing is like, when you have Batman as a solid book, when you have Superman as a solid book, when you have your core books as solid titles...
Yep.
you can have these little titles that just kind of ride along as long as they need to, and then they can just go away, which gives you room for something else to ride along.
That's what I felt like that was some of the problem with New 52 when it came out, was the main characters were slightly changed. Superman was slightly changed. Some of those characters were slightly changed, and the fringe books I felt like were some of the better books. Animal Man, Swamp Thing,
yeah,
and so forth. Some of those fringe books were a little bit better than the mainstream characters, and that was probably that's the problem that Marvel is suffering from now.
Yeah. Well,
all their books are.
Yeah, I was going to say even their French books aren't doing too hot, but again, they have some good titles. So, but yeah, I mean,
when we're talking about Moon Knight, 2 and 1, those are fringe titles. They're not.
Well, yeah, but the problem is, even on the fringe titles that are good books, you're not going to get the sales and attention that you get with
correct.
You didn't get him in New 52 either, though. I mean, Animal Man and iZombie, iVampire.
And I think that's why New 52 started to fail, and they couldn't complete storylines because you have to switch. They're constantly trying to go from behind to switch it up.
Dan DiDio, had made a statement during New 52 that they admitted that they canceled books too fast because people were getting just like herky jerky. It was just like start stop. And Marvel has kind of done that recently, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but they're like, we're going to do Legacy. Never mind, they're all canceled. But at the same point, when you put it at issue 2 and it drops 12,000 sales, what are you going to do? Because it's not coming back from that.
No.
So the way I look at it, and I mean, this is always hard to do, but there are times you let a book go because you see the vision, you see where it's going, you really believe that this could be a better performer. And then there's times where you're just like, yeah, we're just going to let them do what they want for 10 issues, and if it takes off, it takes off. There's got to be some level of belief from the company that this book is worth keeping around.
And for a lot of them, there's not too many right now, other than their main titles in Marvel, because if there's no sales and there's no heat and there's no conversation about the book. So
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I think with Rebirth, I mean, DC was tightening up the line. They were streamlining. They were making. I mean, how many fringe books do we have in Rebirth?
They launched it with good creators on every major title.
Well, yeah,
but they've also launched a bunch of random stuff recently, and I'm hopeful for DC, but concerned that they may be stretching too far. We'll see.
Well, we can already tell. Don't let Neil Adams do stuff.
Yeah, well, but it sells. I mean. He's got an audience to sell him more than...
Even if they're overstretching a little bit right now, they still have the...
This is the time
comes to worst, they're going to just cancel those books.
Yeah. This is the time to overstretch, but it is a little rough, and I'm like, there's 7 miniseries out this week. That's a little too many. A little... Because you don't want to get people too bloated on the line. It's a very fine balance. This is the time to stretch, but boy, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Really have to be careful. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up now.
Ryan.
Yo.
What do you think about Star Wars?
That's not a topic for this conversation.
We have not talked about that.
No. Maybe we'll talk about it.
If we do, it will be another 2 hours from now podcast.
Maybe it'll be a conversation that we can have, a brief one we can have on the end-of-year top TV shows and movie list.
It won't be brief if we do that.
It won't be. Back, it won't.
That'll be on next week.
It's not on my list. So,
if you want to know, go follow me on Twitter, and I've talked to those a few times.
I don't go on Twitter.
We have to thank our good friends on Patreon, people that have donated some money, high dollar
and they fixed
donations. And they did, yes.
They fixed it. They went back and fixed their fuck up.
Yeah, if you're not a fan of Patreon charging you more to support us, well, you can go back because they're not. They're now taking the cut from us again, which is totally fine. That's how it should be. So if you did drop us on Patreon and you want to only donate $1 or $5 or whatever you were donating and not that extra surcharge, jump back on and kick us a buck or two. If I lost anyone, they didn't tell me it was because of it. I think we lost 1 or 2 people, but I mean, we gain a few, we lose a few. I don't think we were affected by it. But, if you did, then this is the time to go back. Julian Titus has the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com.
No
I'm not doing it.
There you go. Ryan Hess has Blowhards, which is a
Toby.
video game podcast at blowhards.libsyn.com. Check those guys out.
I love the spelling of that. Could you spell Libsyn for us?
LIBSYN, Liberated Syndication, I believe is what it stands for. Something like that. Liberated? That sounds right. Jody Lawson has Canon, the Triad Comics Anthology at triadcomicsstudio.com. And also our good friends at Manoa Place, Sam Che, Talon Bray, Craig Anderson, and Joe Duff. Thank you all for your donations and everyone that donates to us at patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy, where for a little as $1 a month, you can...
An actual dollar.
$1, not $1.34 or whatever, yeah. You can help us pay for some hosting fees and get some cash to buy some comics. And yes, these guys get paid during this podcast. It's incredible. Kind of.
Hey, it keeps me in product. I'm like...
ComicSpiracyPodcast.com, Geekbox.net, and iTunes is where you can find this podcast and all our previous episodes. Don't forget to rate and review us. It always helps. It's ComicSpiracy at Geekbox.net is where you can send us some long-form questions. Head over to digital.comicsconspiracy.biz where you can buy some digital comics for us. And I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast, but November 2017 was, unless I'm mistaken, either our number 1 or number 2 month ever on our digital storefront for sales. Obviously, a lot of that
because I bought some shit.
A lot of that's probably Black Friday sales, but yeah, you guys
those Black Friday sales
they're stupid,
fucking stupid, crazy.
So you guys picked up a lot of comics, so thank you. We do get money from that. The store directly gets paid when you buy stuff at our digital.
Well, you're welcome
front.
for that. I did that.
Thank you for your 18 cents. But it was 18 cents I didn't have before. So. ConspiratorBrock.com, that's Brock's blog and video pull list. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, that's Charlie's Doctor Who episode, which we did have a question about Doctor Who, what you thought of the winter of the Christmas episode, but I'm sure if you go on Wanderers, you can hear that.
Yeah, we're recording that tonight, so it will be up on Thursday.
There you go. And Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hillart. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. You can go on and buy some prints from her on there.
And we got our prints.
We do. Yep. We have a handful left, which is the Comic Conspiracy print featuring myself, Brock, Charlie, Bryce, and Toby, all signed by us as well as signed by Leanne. If you want that, it's $15. That's it, and go on comic.
Signed is maybe an overstatement for some of your signatures.
Some of us put ink to pen or ink to paper. I mean, so ink to pen, pen to ink, pen to paper,
ink to print.
Yes. So you can go to comicsconspiracy.biz and buy it on there. I'm Ryan Higgins, Ryan on Twitter. Brock is Brock Sager, Bryce is Larson Bryce, Toby is Toby XI, Charlie's Insanity and Chaos, the store is Comics Con Store, and don't forget to listen to Geekbox, Comedy Button, Manga Machinations, and the Infinite Binge. Those are the little podcasts on our whole network.
Scott and
we can go and listen to more podcasts made by people that are here. Scott and Lane don't use Twitter. You pimp at something?
Lane, you got anything to plug?
No.
No? Scott? No?
Nah.
No? Give Scott some Pokemon Go.
Give me a thumbs up.
Go join his...
Friend me on Pocket Camp.
I haven't played in a while.
I haven't played in a few days either.
Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Hope everyone has a good New Year's. We'll see you. Oh, this is the last episode of 2017. Look at that.
Hey, we survived this year.
We did.
Now we have to survive 2018.
Good luck with that. We'll catch you guys in 2018. See you next year.